Hi, it's Panda Movies here. Today I'm going to explain the movie called Strange Days. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. Los Angeles has turned into a hazardous battle zone in the last 2 days of 1999. A thief wearing a squid, an illegal electronic device that captures memories and physical sensations directly from the wearer's cerebral cortex onto a MiniDisc-like device for playback, records the robbery of a Chinese restaurant. Tick, a former LAPD officer turned black marketeer of SQUID recordings, sells the heist footage to Lenny Nero, a former LAPD officer turned black marketeer of SQUID recordings. Meanwhile, LAPD officers Burton Steckler and Dwayne Engelman are pursuing a prostitute named Iris, who is a former acquaintance of Lenny's ex-girlfriend, Faith Justin. Engelman takes off Iris's wig, revealing a SQUID recorder headgear, and she flees on a metro car. Lenny aches for Faith and leans on his two closest friends, bodyguard and limousine driver Lornette Mace Mason and private detective Max Peltier, for emotional support. Mace had unrequited feelings for Lenny from when he was still an officer, and after her fiancé was incarcerated on narcotics charges, he stepped in as a stable father figure for her son, but she disapproves of his SQUID-dealing operation. Iris puts a SQUID disc through the sunroof of Lenny's car before it gets towed away when Lenny and Max are drinking together at a pub. Mace picks up Lenny and drives him to a nightclub where Faith would perform. Lenny receives a SQUID CD from a contact and attempts unsuccessfully to steal Faith away from her new boyfriend, Philo Gant, there. Lenny sees Iris being brutally raped and murdered by an attacker at the Sunset Regent Hotel while driving with Mace and playing the CD the contact gave him. Iris is carried out on a stretcher as they approach the hotel. They take the CD to Tick the next day, who is unable to identify the source of the tape, but recalls Iris's search for Lenny. Iris may have left something in Lenny's car, so Mace and Lenny drive to the lockup and find Iris's disc. Steckler and Engelman show there with guns drawn and demand the disc, but Lenny and Mace flee in her car before being forced to stop at a pier. Mace drives the car into the harbor, extinguishing the flames, after Steckler pours gasoline on it and sets it on fire. The cops had already left when they reached the surface. Iris was with Jeriko One when Steckler and Engelman pulled him over and murdered him because his anti-police lyrics and activism incited protests against the LAPD. They returned to Tick, who has been rendered brain dead by forcible exposure to enhanced SQUID signals, according to Max. Lenny is concerned that Iris's assailant buried his tracks by killing Tick and will now pursue Faith. Back at the nightclub, Lenny and Mace approach Faith, who confesses that Philo is concerned that Iris's disc will disclose that he has been monitoring his artists. Lenny and Mace are split on whether to give the disc to Philo in exchange for Faith's freedom or release it to the public, which could spark a riot. As midnight approaches, Lenny and Mace sneak into a special party that Philo is throwing for the city's wealthy elite at the Westin Bonaventure Hotel. Lenny has a change of heart and tells Mace to give the disc to Palmer Strickland, the deputy police commissioner. Lenny discovers Philo brain dead on the floor in Philo's penthouse suite, along with another disc that reveals Max and Faith are lovers, and that Max fried Philo's brain with an amplified tape of them pretending rape. Faith tells Lenny that Philo hired Max to assassinate Iris, but when Philo ordered Faith killed as part of the cover-up, Max decided to implicate Lenny. A confrontation ensues between Lenny and Max, which ends with Lenny tossing Max from the balcony to his death. Meanwhile, Mace subdues Steckler and Engelman in the crowded streets, but he is taken down by other officers. Strickland comes and orders Mace's release as well as the murder arrests of Steckler and Engelman. Engelman commits suicide. Steckler threatens Mace, but the officers shoot him down. As the crowd celebrates the new millennium, Lenny locates Mace and the two have a kiss.